What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul and I make videos about Japanese society, life and culture, and I make videos about sneakers. And I'm really happy when both of those worlds collide and I can talk about sneaker culture as it pertains to Japan compared to other places in the world. And this time I get to do a video about a new place, a new sneaker culture that I encountered, and that is Singapore. So this video is about some sneaker shopping and sneaker culture in Singapore. And I did pick up a couple items while I was there. So let's get started. Start with the basics of sneaker shopping in Singapore, and that is you can find a lot of sneaker shops in and around Orchard Road, which is the famous shopping road in Singapore. A lot of big malls there, a lot of huge brand names like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, as well as department stores like Takashimaya, which is a Japanese department store. And there's a lot of sneaker shops. There's Foot Locker, there are actually a Sneaker Dunk store is there, which is a Japanese sneaker reselling platform, and they have a shop in Singapore. And there's a chain of sneaker shops in Singapore that are owned by a company that goes by the name of Limited Edition. And Limited Edition has different named stores that, if you don't know it's the parent company, Limited Edition, you might think they were completely separate entities. But there's like a store that is kind of geared towards skate, and so a lot of skate shoes and skate wear, and then another one is like more limited sneakers and that kind of thing. I would be totally remiss if I did not mention my friend Ryan, who was in Singapore, and he showed me around these Orchard Road sneaker shops, basically taking from one to the other, and I probably would have found a few of them on my own, but definitely not all of them, especially because the mall that we went into was multi-leveled, and we went basically all over the place. And so big thanks to Ryan for showing me around, and I probably wouldn't have even found this pair that I ended up buying if it weren't for him. So thank you, Ryan. That being said, in one of the limited edition shops, specifically called The Vault, and The Vault is where I'm getting this footage of all these crazy grails behind glass. It kind of double serves as a museum for these sneakers that they've picked up apparently and put on display. They are not actually for sale, they're just there, like I said, kind of as a museum piece. But some really cool, amazing shoes behind there, as you can see from the footage. But the pair of shoes that I picked up there are actually a pair of shoes that did not release in Japan, which is why I bought them. I figured this is a great kind of souvenir to myself of my trip to Singapore, getting a pair of shoes that is not available in Japan and may never be available in Japan. It did release in the States, I believe, especially because the colorway is supposed to be inspired by Chinatown in San Francisco. So there's that connection between, you know, Chinatowns in Singapore and of course the Chinese population in Singapore to the Chinese population in Chinatown of San Francisco. And of course I'm in Yokohama, Japan. We have a Chinatown here as well. So it made sense to pick up this Lunar New Year pair of Dunk High. And apparently this design back here on the heel is supposed to be reminiscent of, I guess, the gates or the designs that you find in San Francisco's Chinatown. I've never been to San Francisco, so I can't speak to that. But anyway, you look at it, it is a super clean colorway. This white with kind of tan swoosh and sort of gray paneling, and of course just the hit of gold on the back. And I actually really like the kind of musty or faded green on the tab back here and the green of the sock liner. But overall, this is a clean pair. This will be very easy to wear, and as I said, it's a good memento of my trip to Singapore. The box did get a little mashed in my suitcase, unfortunately. The second place I went shopping was a place I'd originally connected with through YouTube and then Instagram. Basically, I saw this shop's YouTube channel and then I started following their Instagram. And while their YouTube channel has kind of fallen off, they still regularly post on Instagram, and I actually contacted them to let them know I was going to come and check out their shop. And it was there that I really got the education on Singapore sneaker culture and how it's different from either the US or Japan or UK or some of the other European countries I've been to. And that is, in Singapore, there's still a culture that isn't really into buying used items. So new is always best. And of course in Japan that exists to a certain extent, but Japan also has a very vibrant vintage selling and shopping culture. For example, if you go to Shimokitazawa in Tokyo, it's just vintage shops everywhere, and it's all really curated items, and it's quite popular. Resale shops in general can be found just about anywhere in Japan. You don't actually have to go to Shimokitazawa. I mean, even in the area I am in Yokohama, there's plenty of resale fashion stores, and you can pick up some really amazing items because for the most part, Japanese take really good care of their clothes, and those shops are really picky about what they will actually purchase from you if you go to resell your items. If you're in Japan, you want to look for those kind of things, that what you want to search for terms in Google would be things like chuko or kaitori, and that'll pop up all kinds of different shops you can check out. But in Singapore, apparently the culture is new is best, and most of the really hype sneakers you see on feet, at least according to the guys who are super friendly and wonderful, nice guys at Conformity, they said that the shoes you see on feet are often people buying them because they're expensive and because they're famous and they're flashy. And actually knowing the history or really being into sneakers is not the motivation. The motivation is to have an expensive, noteworthy pair of shoes on your feet. So there's not as strong of a culture of like understanding the history and the stories and the development of sneaker culture in general. So it's more about like flash and hype, obviously. So hype beast culture is definitely a thing there apparently, and buying new is also the thing there. So they are a consignment shop, and they have new and used, and they also sell vintage clothes. And they were mentioning that, yeah, the vintage clothes is not like Japan or the US at all. That kind of thing really hasn't caught on in Singapore. It also should be mentioned that climate, I'm sure, plays a key. I mean, that actually came up in my conversation with the Conformity guys. It's always hot in Singapore, and so a lot of the footwear of choice is going to be some kind of sandal or slide or something. And I did see quite a number of foam runners, easy foam runners, and easy slides on feet while I was there. Also a lot of just like really simple kind of beach sandal type things as well. So like the idea of having 4 seasons and a winter and a fall and a spring where you do different layering and different outfits that way, it's a lot harder to do in Singapore because it's just always hot, and like shorts and a t-shirt is going to be kind of the mainstay all year round. And so like some of the sneaker designs are a little bit tougher to style with shorts, or a little bit tougher to style and wear in hot weather comfortably. So obviously if you go to Singapore, I highly recommend you go check out Conformity. It's close to Little India actually, and I will link their Instagram and information in the description below. So please go check them out. They're super friendly. You're going to be able to find some good deals. I actually bought a pair of sneakers there that was a good deal compared to what I probably would have paid for them in Japan. And actually they have a really good selection of stuff, so it's definitely worth checking out. And as I mentioned, they were super friendly and helpful, and they let me film in there, as you can see from the footage. And it was a really good time. I probably was in there an hour and a half just talking about sneakers and like sneaker culture and what it's like in Japan, etc. And at the end of the day, I ended up buying a little bit of apparel. I bought actually this bracelet, which is something that they had made. It's their custom accessories that they have in shop. And I came out of here with a Nike SB that, of course, is pretty famous because it is an SB Atmos elephant print. Shazam! We have the Nike SB elephant. It's It's not quite that Tiffany swoosh that we're seeing on all of the Air Force One Nike collab right now, but it definitely reminds me of that. And what an incredibly clean shoe in hand. Shout out to the Conformity guys for having something that I really wanted to pick up. They had some Travis Scott 4s that I also was considering, but the price was a little steep, and that was based on the person who had consigned them. And although they managed to talk the price down about $100, I actually couldn't make it back to the store before I had to catch my flight the next day. So that was something I had to pass on. But I did pick up these, and I'm really happy that I got them, because what a beautiful pair of shoes. So there you have it, a brief rundown of the differences in sneaker culture in Singapore and Japan, and of course, compared to the US, where probably most of you are watching from. But at any rate, thank you so much. I owe a big shout out to the guys at Conformity. And again, a great shout out to Ryan, who helped show me around the Orchard Road area sneaker shops. And thank you to all of you who are watching this particular video, and I will catch you next time. Peace.